Welcome to Connect the Dots, a podcast where we unlock the stories that connect each and every one of us. Hosted by me, Zach Day, in partnership with Kenect Nashville. How do you connect? How do you connect? How do you connect? How do you connect? What's going on, y'all? My name is Zach Day. Thank you for coming to another episode of Connect the Dots podcast. I'm coming to you live this week from Kenect Phoenix in Phoenix, Arizona. This is the second episode that I've recorded here. Let me tell y'all right now, I'm loving Phoenix. It's so much fun. And for some reason, the city has just been amazing. So far, I've only been here a couple weeks, but so far I'm really loving it. With me today, I have a very special guest. One of my newest friends in the building. She lives here. She works here. She does it well. Okay, she's the queen of Kenect Phoenix right now.
I like that.
This is my friend, J.K. Emerson Smith. How are you?
I'm doing great. I feel very connected.
Good. That's what I like to hear. That's what we like to hear over here. So, do you want me to call, you want to go by J.K.? Is that what we're going with today? I know you as a different name.
Yes. Let's just do Kathy because this is casual. JK is like my transitional name from outside Kenect, inside Kenect.
Gotcha. So I can just call you Kathy here.
Please.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Well, y'all, Kathy she's just a multifaceted individual as well. A lot of the people that are on this podcast tend to be just kind of good at everything, tried everything, and then somehow we've all ended up here. And it's so interesting. But Kathy's another one of these individuals that we just have conversations all the time about just anything, you know what I mean? And I know that you have a lot of things that you could share and a lot of stories and a lot of cool things going on. I first met Kathy when I first moved in, and she was throwing a party and a fundraiser. And so if you want to, you can just start with that. What was that party about, and what were we kind of trying to raise funds for, if you want to share?
That party was a GoFundMe for my extensive medical and dental bills. And in the past, my daughter had taken care of all of that for me, and that's no longer a possibility. So when I found out exactly how much dental work was, I almost had a stroke. I could have used ICU GoFundMe. That was what that party was for, was to raise funds for that. Now, it wasn't to raise funds and tap money in the building.
Right.
These are the people I live with.
Right.
But it was a social media launch.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that was really fun. Great success. I had a good time. That was like one of my first events here at Kenect Phoenix. They have events a lot at Kenect Nashville, but this one was just for you specifically.
Yeah, it was.
And
great.
It was really fun. You had some really great music there. Loose Cannons. It was a band. They're a local Phoenix band, right?
Yeah, their mom is still my friend. She's 100 years old. And
That's amazing.
And that's how I know Richard, who is the leader of the band.
Yeah.
So he volunteered to just throw the music for the night.
Oh,
everybody did. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and then Jamie, who was just on the podcast, she was bartending that night, and they had some hot dogs, hamburgers. It was such a fun night. So
it was.
I'm glad that you got to do that, and that was a really good time for me. And then, me and Kathy, we just see each other around sometimes and always have a good conversation. So, Kathy, I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners and tell me, who you are, where you're from, what's going on, and how you ended up here. And, just give me a little bit about who Kathy is.
Okay, well, I'm 75, so this is a short story.
Hey, no worries. Take your time.
Long time ago, I was born in Manhattan at Women's Clinic. Grandpa was a New York City motorcycle cop. Dad was a dock detective. And I grew up all my summers until I was 16 in New York.
Okay.
But took a train to Ohio when I was in kindergarten and got transferred through my dad's job to the Midwest.
Okay.
Yeah. Went to Toledo for a few years, then ended up near Cincinnati, Ohio, which is why I spend so much time in Kentucky.
Right. We've had that conversation too.
Went to school there. When I graduated, before I graduated, I got a couple of summer scholarships to the University of Detroit School of Journalism, which was unusual for a kid my age.
Yeah.
And then I raised my family there. I started my career there, launched my newspaper career there, but also my corporate career, my coaching and my franchise development career there. Then went from there to Florida, around to Arizona, to California for a few years where I picked up a husband,
Okay.
and back to Arizona.
Amazing. So you've just kind of been here, there, and everywhere, huh?
Absolutely.
So that's pretty interesting. So when you were growing up in Ohio and then going to New York, those are kind of two very opposite. Would you say that those were two very opposite landscapes and experiences for you?
Very, very. Because in Ohio, it was the Midwest, very, very low key. And then back to New York where it was intense.
Yeah.
In the city, close the city house up during the summer, go up north to Putnam Valley to the lake house. And that was kind of a cool thing in my life at that time. And at age 16, it ended because then I grew up and had to get a job and never went back for another summer.
Okay, interesting. So did you know when you were growing up and doing all that, like what you wanted to do with your career and like what you were interested in, writing, journalism, things like that?
Yes, I did. I remember sitting in the lake house office in front of a typewriter, and it said Smith Corona on it. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I realized we were wealthy because we owned a typewriter company. Which wasn't true. It was my imagination.
Okay.
And yes, I was 5 years old when I decided that I wanted to be Lois Lane. I was not impressed with Superman. Lois Lane was my idol. That's what I wanted.
Amazing. So just taking over the world, right?
Yep.
That's so cool. And then what was your first job?
My first job was I went to nurses training first.
Okay.
And that was because my mother made me do it. And I left nurses training after I could not take it anymore. And I went and got a job doing rate checking for an Ohio casualty insurance company. Every night I read the newspaper for ads for a Lois Lane job.
Yeah.
One night I landed it.
Yeah.
Went to dinner in the kitchen with my mom and dad and said, I'm going to be a reporter now. And I got a job with the Journal News in Hamilton, Ohio, where I was one of the very first women who plowed into the field of men's work in journalism.
Right.
Yeah, because I didn't want to do recipes and weddings.
Okay, you wanted to be boots on the ground.
You better believe it, yeah.
That's so cool. And what year was that probably? When was this? What, the 60s or something?
69.
69?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow.
And I have to interject here. At that time in the city room, when you watch movies and you see these desks lined up and chatter in the background and typewriters in the old days, that was all real. And at that point, I walked into my first job as a newspaper reporter, put my ashtray on the desk, took a cigarette out because all the other guys were smoking.
Right.
And the editor went like this and said, "Come here." And I went up and he said, "The women smoke in the bathroom."
Oh.
That
What did you
last
say?
long.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah, that didn't last long.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. So, and where, this was in Ohio?
Yes.
Okay.
This was in Ohio.
That's so cool. So, have you noticed any sort of changes in your career as far as like journalism goes? Like probably back then it's a lot different than they do it now, because now with like these technological advances, I would expect that maybe back then it was probably a little bit more boots on the ground as opposed to now everything's probably more internet based, right? Like what kind of work were you doing?
Well, I started out as the little Lois Lane church secretary type reporter and went around and met all the preachers and did all the church news.
This was like door to door kind of thing.
Yeah, yes. You didn't internet. You got out and went face to face.
Yeah.
They knew who you were. And then as I realized I was not going to be happy doing that kind of work, went to the editor, and I wanted the same kind of jobs that the men got.
Yeah.
So he gave me those jobs, and I went out and I covered murders, and I covered construction of interstate highways, and I learned how to do everything that previously boots-on-the-ground men were doing, and I was really good at it.
That's so cool. And then how long were you there? Would you say that was that like that was your first job, I guess, but you must have made a career out of it.
I was there in that position for 5 years.
Okay.
And then when I had my family, I was transitioning into a part-time position with starting up a weekly newspaper there.
Okay.
So, little story, fifth grader won a contest with the newspapers. Another boy won the boys' end of it. So
Okay.
this girl and that boy went to the firehouse, went down the pole, went on the radio, and read our essays. And both opened up weekly newspapers.
That's so cool.
Rex Richardson was his name.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So talking about your career a little bit during that time and then beyond that, I want to know what are some of the most significant achievements or milestones in your professional career, if you can share that with me.
I think that when I accidentally discovered TWA's collusion with New York's abortion clinics and flying women in at reduced rates for their abortions overnight, and all of the intrigue that went into that, and came back and wrote a story. And then I actually did boots on the ground research into the Over the Rhine district and went down and met with women who were dying of back alley.
Like illegal abortion.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so that my passion about doing that was something that Ohio just wasn't used to.
Of course, yeah, because that's pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, that's like, what's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Ohio, it's probably a little bit hush hush kind of thing. So this was probably a little bit more like, oh, like we're gonna go there.
Yes, Michigan had billboards on their interstate highways about it, but in Ohio, we just weren't talking about it.
Right, behind closed doors kind of thing. And I don't even know really. I don't know the history of it too much, but were abortion surgeries and things like that, was that legal at the time in all 50 states, or how was that?
At that particular time, if you wanted an abortion in Ohio, you pretty much had to either, I found out after the fact, go to Michigan, but to New York. New York had through TWA, they had it locked down.
What's TWA?
Trans World Airlines was one of the biggest airlines in the history of the world.
Oh, okay. Wow.
When I flew in to see my grandmother in Peekskill, New York, and walked through there and saw all these rows of chairs in TWA, and at the end of it, they had signs at each end of each row with the name of an abortion clinic on it.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, women flew in, sat in those rows. Vans came, picked them up, drove them off, had their abortions, brought them back.
Yeah, so that was kind of breaking news for...
It was.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, and that was that was in Ohio as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow. So tell me a little bit about what happened. Then you left there, right? And
Yes.
where'd you go?
Well, after I left that paper, I wrote for the Cincinnati Enquirer. And then after that, I found a job with a company that I was with for quite a few years, and I was utilizing my communication skills to launch that company, and ended up helping the president grow it to 330 locations. And I was responsible for fleshing out the franchise field division of that company. So I learned back then, before computers were available, where now you can just plug a disc in and build a company.
Right.
They would pay me to come in and write their policy and procedure manuals, their sales training manuals, any manual that had anything to do with the way the company was run.
Yeah.
I learned how to write.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So you did that for how long? How long was that going on for? Probably
About 10 years.
Nice.
Yes.
And then probably during this time too, I mean, this was like journalism more, right? And like more working behind the scenes kind of thing as well. But then I know you also have a passion for creative writing and stuff like that. And that's become a part of your career too as an author, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can talk about that if you want to as well.
Okay. Excuse me, I did some publishing on Wattpad.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to be careful if you get approached by an agent, because agents who are not really agents will troll places like Wattpad and look for good writers.
Yeah.
And find a way to approach them. And that's what happened to me. back in the it was in 2013.
Okay.
And I ended up meeting a University of Tennessee professor who specialized in early British erotica,
Yeah.
which caught my attention because I liked the fact that you could write beautiful, romantic, erotic novels and without offending anyone.
Right. And
And-
so early British, what do you mean by that? Like when was that problem?
Victorian.
Oh, so early.
Right.
Okay.
And then evolving into Lady Chatterley's Lover, and Michael specialized in gay erotic literature.
Wow.
And that really caught my attention because of my interest in all of my friends who were gay and their their rights.
Right.
I wanted them to be able to read beautiful literature.
Sure. Yeah, of course. And see ourselves in that kind of, stories, and because that
Right.
stuff, it exists. So that's so cool. Wow. And so when you were writing this kind of, so anyway, sorry, let's back up a little bit. So you met this professor, and what did that inspire you to do, or how was that intricate into your career?
Well, when I met Michael, I had already been hooked by Anais Nin, who wrote The Delta of Venus, and I read everything that she's ever written.
Yeah.
What a woman!
Yeah.
And so I let him read some of my work, and my work doesn't even begin to even approach the quality of hers. But he said that I had done something different, and it was called, and I coined the phrase, personal languages of arousal. You learn to write to your readers specifically what they want to read, and you curate your language to that specific reader. And he saw that I was able to do that. And so what I did was I trademarked it, currently trademarked for PLOA, which is your personal language of arousal. And I can do a course and coach on each person's PLOA, and they can get a trademark and name theirs.
During your life, and when you were doing journalism and things like that, and then you started doing some more of this creative writing and working with the PLOA and stuff like that, was this creative writing started as a hobby for you, or did you know that you, besides journalism, you like to tell stories and stuff too?
I always loved to tell stories. I was so used to writing straight news when I went from journalism into doing corporate writing. That was still kind of straight news.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't deviate. But then, just to relax, I would find myself doing poetry, creative writing, and doing just little fun stories that I would publish on Wattpad under my other writers' names, see what kind of reactions I would get from people.
Yeah.
Met another agent and started working with him, and had 3.5, almost 4 years of a good run with David.
Cool.
David Yarborough. He passed away last July.
Okay.
So I've been out here kind of free floating ever since.
Yeah.
Somebody will find me.
100%. So, let's talk a little bit about how you ended up here at Kenect Phoenix, and maybe what brought you here to Phoenix in the first place, and then how you ended up at Kenect, if you want to. You can share
Got
that.
it.
Yeah.
I was living in San Francisco at the time. My husband I was married. Patrick and I lived in Marin County, and I had an apartment in San Francisco because of the fact that traffic was so awful trying to get out of San Francisco north to go home at night. So I saw my husband on weekends.
Okay.
And I stayed in the city during the week.
Yeah.
So then he moved here. He was transferred here, and we built a home up in Desert Ridge before there was a Desert Ridge. And Patrick passed away in 2008, but I was here because of him.
Yeah.
We moved here because of my husband, and we built a home here in Desert Ridge. We built another home after my health failed over in Sun City, and then around the time that Patrick passed away is when creative writing, because of my health, started to be a medication.
Wow. And it made you feel better, or it made you
It
healed you?
me.
Yeah.
It healed me. It gave me a purpose, sense of purpose. And
Oh,
then
100%.
after Patrick passed away, I went up to Flagstaff for 5 years, lived up in the North Country.
Beautiful, huh?
Mingled with my Native American friends.
Yeah.
And then my sister said, come back down to the valley. Bought a home. In 2019, I sold my home and went into the senior living prison system.
Right. Yes, and you're welcome to share that if you would like. If you don't want to, it's okay too.
I would like, because my passion for seniors is certainly based on the fact that I am one.
Right.
And however, at my age, I'm very lucky to have healed and have been a member of the Benjamin Button family and reverse generated myself.
Right.
So that all of a sudden I'm in senior living and other seniors are looking to me and going, Kathy, could you help me do this? And so that's when I realized that senior living was a high-priced babysitting.
Yeah, and you're not getting paid to be a babysitter for these other people.
No.
So that's not what you're trying to do.
No. And I won't go into any specifics
Of course,
but there was enough to make me want to leave. And one day, after looking at one place in the city, I had rented a car, and I got lost driving around, and I was in a parking lot of a restaurant in tears.
Yeah.
And my phone rang in the car, and it was Candace from Kenect. And she was laughing, and I'm crying. And she said, I had to talk to the person that wrote this note that said, do you have room there for an old lady? And so I came to see what Kenect was like, and I just knew this is where I needed to be.
Yeah. And you've been here for how long now?
It's only going on 7 months, but yesterday I just renewed my lease. I think I'll be on paper here through 2026.
Well, hey, you know where you want to be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I like that. And so it's been, I mean, I know, like, I've only been here a few weeks, not even a few, just like a couple weeks really. And I love it here. I really like Phoenix. And I like this building, and the people that I've met in here have been really cool. And I mean, we've had good times. We've been having game nights and hanging out by the pool and just
Building
catching
family.
up. Yeah. And then Kathy literally made me homemade Kentucky breakfast the other day.
He was homesick. He was homesick for Kentucky, and I felt this boy's pain.
And that was so sweet. Like, honestly, it's been really, really wonderful. And I've been having fun too. So I can see why you want to stay. You know what I mean? You knew you didn't belong in a senior living facility. Just that's not right for you. Even me, just barely knowing you as well as I do. No, definitely not. You know?
I really think probably had I not decided to come to Kenect, I would have been in jail because I would have done something bad.
You would have broken out of there.
I would have broken out of there. But,
Exactly.
but now I absorb the energy and life of the people who are here. The energy that I get every day when I wake up knowing that I'm here. I walk over to that window, look out my 12th floor window at the backyard
Yeah.
where we have our events.
Yeah.
Where my children play.
Yeah, right. And it's us down there just hanging out by the pool.
And we're
hanging out
having
the
another Kentucky breakfast in a few days.
Yeah.
And I am drawing up adoption papers for 3 or 4 of the kids here.
I love that. Yeah, it's been so much fun so far. So okay, so what are you doing? You're doing a lot of actually work that we've discussed. Like, you have some stuff going on with. You're trying to make senior living better than it was, because that seemed like that was, you realized that it's not where it needs to be, right? And we talked a little bit about that, but please share anything that you want to about that, because like you said, you're a senior citizen and you want to make sure that y'all are getting treated right and stuff like that, right? Yes.
And at this point, we were going to take a step back and look at my first place that I lived in, no names mentioned, where they flew the vice president over from California for a meeting with me because he was hearing that I was making a little bit of noise. And this is in a CCRC, which Medicare and Medicaid and the government can have oversight over them because they bill them for the care that the seniors receive there.
Right.
But they also were in violation of a lot of things. And I would prowl at night and take pictures of the violations. And I had a dossier, and the vice president came over, Jack, I'll name names, came in to see me and said he heard I wasn't happy, and I told him why. He didn't seem very interested, so I said, meeting over. You have 2 weeks before I lead a coup out the front door or the paper's in.
I love that.
And they went and they started construction again, and they kept all their promises. And 2 months later, the Jewish League of Kenect called me and invited me over and threw a luncheon for me for all of the things that were accomplished by me making trouble.
I wouldn't say it's trouble. I'd say it's standing up for yourself. You know what you pay for. You know what other people are paying for. And you know what you deserve. So
Exactly.
I support that 100%. And you got stuff done.
Yes, that's important.
Right.
You can't just make noise. You have to accomplish something.
Right. I mean, it takes a lot of work. And that's probably where a lot of people fall off is because, everybody can complain or have something to say. But whenever it's like, okay, but again, it's back to that boots on the ground thing. You've got to literally just do it.
Well, my daddy taught me one important thing. If you have a complaint, go complain, but bring 2 resolutions with you.
Right. Have something have some plan to,
Exactly.
rectify that. Right. That's how I feel too. And I will make my complaints known anytime I have some. I'm not afraid to do that because it's not like I'm trying. I just know my worth, and you know that too about
Yes.
yourself and what other people deserve too.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
we were talking about that with Jamie too. Like people will take advantage of you if you don't kind of stick up for yourself and others.
Be careful.
You do have to be careful. It's a sticky situation sometimes, but you just have to know your own worth and don't let people take advantage of you. You know what I mean? Especially as a senior citizen, because I feel like, senior citizens probably get overlooked a lot, which is so wrong, but it probably does happen.
They're afraid to stand up for themselves, and I won't go too far into this, but between 1900 and 1945, Cohort A, and in 1946 up to 64, Cohort B, if you look at the psychological profiles of them, you'll see why they get taken advantage of. They don't complain, they don't argue with their lawyers, they don't talk back to their doctors. And so people walk over them, but things are changing.
Good. I wonder why that is. I wonder why that specific group of people have let people walk all over them or are too afraid or whatever it is to stand up for themselves.
It's just the way society was. They were socialized to respond a certain way.
Yeah.
And so if you go to A and you see what happened there, then you go to B and you see what's going on there. These people better be afraid of C.
Yeah. Right. That's so interesting. That's true. Have you noticed, okay. How have you maintained your youthful spirit and energy and your health and well-being over all of these years?
I maintained it up until 1999. Had a almost 15-year episode of extremely poor health and not being able to walk.
Right, I remember you saying
Came
that.
back, and every day when I wake up, well, first of all, I've always tried to take good care of myself.
Okay.
But
What does that mean? What does that mean? Take good care of yourself. Does that mean mentally, journaling, writing and stuff like that? Like you said, exercise, what?
Every single way of taking care of myself that I can think of, as far as writing, meditating, making sure that my mental state is in the same lane as my physical drive.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that my energy level is high.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to eat properly, which I will be able to do after my teeth are fixed.
Right. Right. Good little segue there. Yeah, I'm just curious about that because, I'm 30 and I have been trying. I don't know. I just feel like growing up as a teenager and even throughout college, I wasn't really focused on. I was always in the gym and running and things like that, but I wasn't focused on eating right or taking care of my skin or anything like that. You know what I mean? And I just think it's interesting that these days, that's pretty mainstream, the skincare and the wellness and things like that. That's pretty
Yes.
well mainstream now, but I bet back in the day it probably wasn't. I don't know, but
It wasn't. When I moved to Phoenix, the very first time I moved here, I was 40. And somebody told me I needed to start taking care of my skin. At that time, my skin was great, and I didn't pay any attention to it.
right.
But when I came back here and I was older, but it's never bothered me to have a wrinkle.
No,
Ever.
definitely not a wrinkle.
But I want to take care of what God gave me.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's sunny here. It's hot. Like I've been trying to make it a really good practice
Yes.
to use sunscreen and stuff here
Yes.
because
Or you're gonna be sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I don't know. I was just curious about that, and if you had any, if there's anything you've done for a long time, as maybe like
I have.
Yeah. What are some of those? Do you have anything in specific?
I have this to say to women who don't have a lot of money, and I'm talking to the other 98%.
Yeah.
I analyzed the products, the contents of the ingredients in expensive products. Then I researched and got those products in another form, less expensive.
Okay.
And then I put together a skincare regimen that I've kept up for about the past 8 years.
Wow. Interesting.
And I keep it up and I do it every single day.
Yeah.
I can't go backwards, but I can maintain.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So-
That's exactly what I think. And like, I think a big part of mine is just like, okay, like I'm glad I drink a lot of water, and I think like staying hydrated
Your
is
skin is
important.
beautiful.
Thank you. I do take care of my skin, but it's just because I've kind of been doing it for the past maybe 10 years, just like a consistent cleanse, moisturize, take care of your skin.
Good.
You know what I mean? But I don't know why I started doing that. I think I was just like, well, if I start now, then maybe I can maintain, like you said, maintain for the next however long.
Yes, I'm maintaining for the future.
Right, exactly. And then you also stay pretty active. I mean, you do have your little scooter, which I love, and that's been a blessing, right? I mean, it's gotten you around, and you don't have a car here, right? So
No, I don't. But I'll tell you what, that's my independence.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to worry about, getting anything because everything's local down here.
Yeah.
And I'm safe on it.
Yeah.
And I've got all the gear I need for my elbows and my knees and my
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
And I feel, and when I ride around, I make sure I ride with an attitude.
Exactly.
So nobody bothers me.
Right. I respect that. I only have a couple more things for you before we wrap it up here, but
Okay.
I have a question that says, how do you stay active and engaged in your community? And I think that one way that we have done that is just by like the events that we've been going to, because Kenect itself has all kinds of cool stuff. They have like, different like breakfast and, tacos and whatever. We got all kinds of stuff. I think we should do more.
Yes, I agree.
I want some like game nights, or we have all kinds of ideas.
Trivia.
Yeah, trivia and maybe karaoke.
Truth or dare.
Yeah, who cares? Anything. I'm ready for anything. Truth or dare, we might get in trouble, but you never know.
Tooth or dare.
Truth or dare, exactly. But yeah, like how would you say that you stay active and engaged in your community here? Or in general, maybe you have friends outside.
I have in all of my communities been engaged, and that includes my home, every single home I can think of going backwards, including the city of Goodyear, where I had organized the very first, very well organized neighborhood event, and invited the police to bring their SWAT trucks and their fire trucks, and so the kids could go through everything. And the chief of police came and saw what I did, and I got invited to a city council meeting. And from that point on, City of Goodyear followed the format that I had followed for myself to do that. So then when I was up in Flagstaff after my husband passed away, I had 3 wishes. An affordable place to live, a church nearby, and a way to give. And so I went into training with the Flagstaff Police Department for their domestic violence negotiations, rape crisis counseling ride-along. And I did that while I was up there. So that is, you give. That's how you stay engaged.
And I know that you, obviously community is important to you, because anywhere you are, it seems like you tend to figure out a way to get involved and just, enjoy and really just live a life of, okay, like you're not just going to sit in your room all day or whatever.
No.
Like you're going to go out, you're going to make friends, you're going to meet people, you're going to get involved. And I really respect that because I have such a tendency to kind of, I'm an inward person. I'm kind of more introverted, I would say. Some people might disagree, but I personally think that I'm a little bit more introverted. And so to see someone like you who's like, no, like you have to like get out. I'm like, okay, you're right. I respect that, you know?
Because if you stay in your room, you might find, vines climbing the wall that are attached to your fingers.
No, literally, I know. And yeah, let's just talk about some of the stuff that you want to talk about with your fundraiser and anything else that you want to give a shout out to.
One of the things that I want to talk about is something that I did originally for just my own pleasure, and that is write children's books. And they're curated. They're called the Bespoken Words. Okay. And what I do is I take a hardback and I take pictures of whomever I'm going to make the topic of the book. And as you can see there, Owensboro, Kentucky's in the background. And guess who's in the front? Caroline.
That's so cute. I can't wait till she sees this.
So I'm doing a book for her going home. Aww. And I interviewed her last night.
Yeah, she told me about that.
And so I do those.
So cute. For those of you who are only listening, Kathy has brought a book that she is writing. I guess it's a book, yeah.
It's a new book, yeah.
And it's so cute. I'm so excited for that.
So I do that. Now, I originally for fun, but now I'm doing it. I have done it for parents.
Oh, okay.
And you can either buy one book at a time, or maybe you can do a 5-year span of your child.
Wow. Okay.
And then I just got my.
So you can order though. You can like place an order or something for you.
I'm going. That is going to be going up on my website.
Okay.
And you can place an order for it.
Okay, great. We'll circle back to that so that you can shout out your website. And then what was this one?
This is an example of my new business card I've been working on because my website is on it.
Okay.
And my website is Senior Warehousing reformprotectionprogram.com, and reform stands for retirees who have escaped from organized retirement madness. You've heard it.
I love that.
The Witness Protection Program, if you're a senior, you now have a protection program.
Okay, good.
So that's going to be my website that's going to contain all of my work available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also going to be a blog about that. And I'm going to be monetizing it.
Yeah, as you should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you'll be on it.
Okay, good. And so, if people want to donate to the GoFundMe for, the Kick in the Teeth GoFundMe fundraiser, do you know where we could send them to go do that? Will it be on your website?
I'm going to have it on my website.
Okay.
Yes, I'll go ahead and put the QR code up on my website.
Perfect.
All of this is new to me. I've never done a GoFundMe. I've never used a QR code before.
So if you don't mind, give us that website once again to where everybody can go check out all the things that you're offering us.
Okay. It is one word, Senior Warehousing Reform Protection Program.com.
Okay. And that is basically all the questions I have for you, except for one more. I just now saw it. On this podcast, I talk a lot about finding a healthy work-life balance because, every day we go through the routines. We're working hard. Everybody that I have on here is a hard worker and a hustler, and we're out here just trying to do our thing, and that can get exhausting. And if you don't take some time to yourself, then you can go wild, mad.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You'll get burnt out. You'll just hate doing it every day. So for me, I have my ways of, finding that healthy work-life balance and finding some time to relax and peaceful moments and stuff like that. What is that for you? What does that look like for you when you just want to unwind?
When I want to unwind, I depend upon Alexa. You saw my new bed.
Yeah.
It's like a below deck.
Yes.
On a boat.
Yes.
So I get up on my bed and I say, Alexa, wake me up in 39 minutes. And then I meditate.
Nice.
And I sweep my mind clear. And I learned how to do that when I was sick as a method of pain control.
Okay.
And so I remember the beautiful, empty feeling you get when you sweep your mind clear of everything and you open your mind up, and it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
how you keep going.
I love that. Okay, so you recommend everybody meditate.
Absolutely.
Do you listen to anything like music or
Yes.
sounds, or do you? Yeah.
Two things.
Okay.
I listened to Celine Dion, which I told you,
Yep.
and Indian tribal flute music.
Nice.
Always.
And they have a lot of cool stuff like that here too in Phoenix. Like you can find like some really interesting local artists and
Yes.
Native American music and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, I love that.
And
That's cool.
now I'm listening to this guy named Zach.
Oh, I've heard of him. You know, Zach. Yeah.
Yeah. One day.
Right, exactly. Okay, Kathy. Well, that's it. Is there any other parting words that you want to say before we wrap it up here?
I have no parting words ever. I am
Good.
never parting.
Period. I love it.
I'm here for good.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Okay. Well, from everybody here at Kenect Phoenix, from Kathy and myself, you feel free to check me out online at Zach. Check out Kenect Phoenix. Check out Kenect Nashville. We want to say have a good day, and that's it. Goodbye.